There's a truth most people don't know. The silent killer that's destroying the health of millions of Americans every single day is not sugar. The thing we've feared for decades is merely the shadow of something far more dangerous, an invisible carbohydrate hiding in nearly every meal, in your bread, your cereal, even in foods labeled as healthy. It has no sweetness, no smell, no warning, yet it spikes your blood sugar faster than a spoonful of white sugar. And the scariest part? It's completely legal, dirt cheap, and goes by a name that sounds harmless. I'm Dr. David from Everyday Vital Path. For over 30 years, I've seen countless patients who thought they were eating right, only to end up with diabetes, fatty liver, and memory decline, all because of this disguised carb. If you believe avoiding sugar is enough to stay healthy, this video will completely change the way you think about healthy eating. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Everyday Vital Path to support my mission of bringing you honest, science-based health insights that truly make a difference. Now, let me ask you one simple question. What do you think is more dangerous? A. Foods that contain sugar. B. Sugar-free foods that have been industrially altered. Comment A or B below. I want to know if you truly understand what's happening inside your body. And now, here are the 10 most dangerous carbohydrates on the planet. Please, watch this video to the very end. Number 1, industrial starch, the hidden enemy in every meal. You know, after decades of working with thousands of patients over 50, I've realized there's a hidden culprit quietly destroying our health every single day. It's not sugar. It's not fat. It's industrial starch, the silent ingredient that sneaks its way into nearly every modern meal without you even noticing. I remember one of my patients, Mary, 63 years old. She didn't eat sweets, never touched soda, exercised regularly, yet her blood sugar was high, and her liver fat kept increasing. When we reviewed her diet, almost every food she ate had a small ingredient listed as modified starch or maltodextrin. Those words look harmless, but they were the reason her body was being quietly poisoned from within. I want you to imagine this. You may think you're avoiding sugar, but you could be consuming twice as much industrial starch every day, a substance that triggers your body's blood sugar response even faster than drinking a large soda. The problem is, it hides too well. No taste, no smell, no sweetness, yet it slowly damages your liver, your gut, and even your heart over time. Number 2, chronic inflammation and gut microbiome imbalance. There's something most people don't realize. Almost every pain in the body, from aching knees to fading memory, begins in the gut. And industrial starch is one of the main culprits disturbing that fragile ecosystem inside you. I once had a patient named Richard, 58 years old. He came to see me for persistent joint pain and constant fatigue. But after several tests, we discovered the problem wasn't in his joints, it was in his gut. He had an overgrowth of harmful bacteria, while the good bacteria had almost disappeared. When I reviewed his diet, every meal included boxed cereals, bread, and sugar-free sauces, all loaded with maltodextrin and modified starch. These starches don't just feed the bad bacteria, they also trigger inflammation that spreads throughout the entire body. You might feel bloated, swollen, foggy-headed, or simply exhausted without understanding why. The human body was designed to heal itself, but when the gut is inflamed, every system falls out of balance. I always tell my patients, if you want to heal chronic illness, start by healing your gut microbiome. Number 3, loaded with toxic chemicals during processing. Have you ever wondered why a food that looks so white, smooth, and delicious can sit on a store shelf for an entire year without spoiling? The answer lies in chemicals, substances your body was never meant to process. In the laboratory, industrial starch is bathed in a series of harsh chemicals, sodium triate phosphate, vinyl Acetate, bleaching agents, and other compounds that I've seen more often in industrial cleaning rooms than in real food. These chemicals make the starch whiter, smoother, dissolve faster, and cheaper. But the real cost is that your liver and kidneys must work twice as hard to eliminate those toxins. I once treated a woman in her 60s who never drank alcohol, yet her liver tests looked like those of a lifelong drinker. When we looked deeper, the cause wasn't alcohol at all, it was the so-called low-fat and gluten-free products she believed were healthy. The human body cannot recognize these synthetic chemicals. It doesn't know whether to digest them or to defend against them. And when it chooses to defend, inflammation begins, quietly, persistently, one day at a time. Number 4, when combined with seed oils, a dangerous toxic mix. I want you to imagine this: you're sitting in front of the TV, holding a bag of potato chips, thinking it's just a harmless little snack. But inside each crispy bite lies a perfect storm of toxins, the deadly combination of industrial starch and refined seed oils. When these two meet under high heat, they stop being food. They become a chronic inflammatory cocktail, attacking your liver, your blood vessels, and even your brain cells. In my clinic, I've seen this pattern hundreds of times: patients with high bad cholesterol, elevated liver enzymes, arthritis, memory decline, and every single one of them had one thing in common: they ate a lot of fried foods, snacks, cereals, or packaged cookies. One of my patients, Daniel, once asked me, "Doctor, I don't eat sweets, so why am I always tired and my joints ache so much?" I smiled gently and said, "Because you're eating sugar that doesn't taste sweet. Your body doesn't care whether it's a snack or a meal, it only reacts to toxins. And each time it does, your cells inflame a little more, your arteries stiffen a little more. Your memory fades a little more, until one day, you realize, it's already too late." Number 5, hidden inside healthy foods. What worries me most is that the real enemy of our health is no longer found in the things that look obviously bad, but in the foods we've been taught to believe are good for us. I once had a patient named Susan, 61 years old. She only ate what she thought was healthy: whole grain bread, almond milk, sugar-free cereal, even plant-based protein powder. But when I read the ingredient labels, nearly every product had a small line of text that said modified starch, maltodextrin, or corn solids. I asked her, "Which of these do you think is real food?" She smiled, and then went silent. Because if a so-called healthy food is filled with fillers and additives, can we still call it food? I want you to remember this: sometimes the most dangerous things are the ones we trust the most. Labels like organic, low-fat, or gluten-free don't always mean safe, they're often just designed to make you feel comfortable. So if you've ever wondered why you're eating right, but still feel tired, bloated, inflamed, or gaining weight, maybe the problem isn't what you know, but what you don't see written on the label. Number 6, the impact on the brain and nervous system. Have you ever noticed how sometimes you forget a familiar name, or stop mid-sentence, lost for words for a few seconds? Most people assume it's just aging. But after decades of working with older patients, I've learned it's not just age, it's often a sign of silent damage happening inside the brain. I remember an elderly gentleman named George, 67 years old. He used to be an engineer with an incredible memory. But after just a few years of convenient eating, white bread, canned soups, breakfast cereals, he started forgetting how to get home. Tests showed high levels of inflammation in his brain, fatty liver, and unstable blood sugar. It wasn't surprising, those foods were full of industrial starch, which, when broken down, produces aldehyde, a chemical used to preserve bodies after death. I know that sounds alarming, but it's true. Every day, your brain has to battle those toxins. They damage your neurons, slow down communication, and blur your memory like a fog settling over your mind. Your body can forgive many things, but the brain cannot. Every poor meal choice is like a small cut across your memory. So if you want to stay sharp and clear-headed, start by feeding your brain with real food, not the kind manufactured in a laboratory. Number 7, more dangerous than sugar, yet invisible on the label. There's something that has haunted me for years. The most dangerous ingredient in modern food isn't what you see, it's what you don't. It has no sweetness, no smell, no color, yet it spikes your blood sugar faster than pure table sugar ever could. This is industrial starch, the invisible villain hiding behind every nutrition label. On the package, you'll often see the line, 0 grams of sugar. And you smile, thinking you're making a healthy choice. But just below that, there's usually another line, 15 grams of other carbohydrates. No one tells you what that really is. That other category is refined starch, absorbed so rapidly that your blood becomes flooded with sugar just minutes after eating. I once asked a patient, "Do you think you eat a lot of sugar?" She said, "Not at all, I only eat sugar-free bread." And that, right there, is the tragedy. Those zero-sugar foods were silently driving her blood sugar and insulin levels sky-high, little by little, day after day. You can't fight an enemy you can't see. And industrial starch is exactly that, a hidden sugar. Text. Number 8, each of us consumes hundreds of pounds every year without knowing it. Have you ever wondered how much fake food your body has to process in just 1 year? According to the latest data, the average adult consumes between 130 and 220 pounds of industrial starch every single year, and most people have no idea. Not because they choose to, but because it's mixed into nearly everything around us. From your instant soup in the morning, to the slice of bread at lunch, to that sugar-free candy after dinner, all of it contains that same white, tasteless powder. You might think you're only eating a little bit, but over a year, your body ends up processing hundreds of pounds of industrial starch, a substance never meant to nourish human life. I remember during a group session with seniors, a 70-year-old woman began to cry when she learned this number. She said, "Doctor, I thought I was eating so little." I just nodded gently, because that's the truth for most of us. We don't eat too much, we just don't know what we're eating. The body doesn't need more calories, it needs the truth. And the truth is, most of what we call food today isn't really food at all. It's a product of industry, not nature. Number 9, no nutritional value, just cheap fillers. I once told one of my patients, it's not that you're eating too much, it's that you're eating too little real food. Most of what we call food today is nothing more than cheap fillers, disguised with artificial flavor and texture to make it seem satisfying. Industrial starch has no vitamins, no minerals, no enzymes, it doesn't nourish the body, it merely fills the stomach. It tricks you into feeling full for a moment, only for hunger to return quickly, because your body is still crying out, "I need nutrients, not white powder." I remember a man named Paul, 65 years old, thin frame, but a bloated belly. He didn't eat much, but his meals were mostly convenient foods, the kind you microwave in 2 minutes. His tests showed severe deficiencies in B vitamins, zinc, and magnesium, even though his daily calorie intake was more than enough. He looked at me and said, "Doctor, I don't understand, how can I eat so much and still feel so weak?" I could only smile sadly and say, "Because you're not eating food, Paul. You're eating factory products." It's heartbreaking, but this is the age we live in, a time when a single meal can contain hundreds of calories but not a single spark of real life. The body doesn't need empty fuel, it needs living energy. And that will never come from mass-produced food, only from real, fresh, simple ingredients, the way nature always intended. Number 10. Industrial starch and the modern metabolic syndrome. There's a modern disease that most of my patients carry without even knowing its name. It's called metabolic syndrome, a cluster of conditions that include belly fat, high blood pressure, fatty liver, unstable blood sugar, and cognitive decline. And the silent trigger behind all of it is industrial starch. I remember a man named Harold, 72 years old. He once told me, "Doctor, I don't eat much, just low-fat milk, whole grain bread, and cereal for breakfast." But when I looked at the labels, almost everything he consumed contained maltodextrin or modified corn starch. When the body has to process these fake carbohydrates every single day, insulin stops working properly, the liver begins to store fat. Blood vessels become inflamed, and the brain slows down. That's not aging, that's the outcome of an industrialized diet, disconnected from nature. You know, when I was a child, we ate potatoes, vegetables, and real meat, not much, but it was real. Today, people eat more than ever before, yet they are more malnourished than ever. We're not aging because of time, we're aging because what we now call food is no longer truly food. If there's one thing I want you to remember, it's this: health doesn't come from a label that says low fat or no sugar. It comes from truth, from real, simple, natural food. Let your meals be your medicine, before your medicine becomes your meal. Conclusion, a message from the heart. You know, after so many years in this profession, what troubles me most isn't the severe cases, it's the people who think they're healthy, yet slowly lose their vitality, simply because they've been eating wrong, in silence. Industrial starch, refined seed oils, ultra-processed foods, they've crept into every kitchen, every meal, quietly turning our bodies into laboratories for the food industry. We haven't just lost our health, we've lost our connection to nature, the very essence that nourished our ancestors for thousands of years. But I still believe, it's never too late to change. The human body is extraordinary, the moment you stop feeding it artificial things, it knows how to heal itself. Start with the simplest actions. Cook with real ingredients, read every label, choose less but better, and remember, every meal is a choice that shapes your future. And if there's one lesson I hope you take away today, it's this. Backhand index pointing right: health doesn't come from what you add, it comes from what you're willing to let go of. Let go of fake convenience, and return to what's real, to nature, and to your own body. Now, I want to ask you something simple. Seedling, what do you think is the hardest part about changing your eating habits? Share your thoughts in the comments below, so we can all learn from each other. And if this video has helped you in any way, please don't forget to subscribe to Everyday Vital Path, to support us in creating more inspiring content to help you live longer, healthier, and happier every single day.